Well, hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to my live stream coverage of United Launch Alliance's Delta IV Heavy that we've been waiting to see fly. This thing has been out in the pad for a couple months now out at Vandenberg Air Force Base. And of course, like always, let's go ahead and start off the live stream. I'm going to show you guys the pre-launch preview. Now remember, anytime you want... Oh, that's the wrong thing. Great. Right when I redo my entire live stream thing, I just got back from vacation and I haven't had time to apparently fix all this stuff, so let's try and do that. But meanwhile, why don't I tell you what's going on and I'll try and fix this at a good time. But you know what? Even when I switch it over, you know what's going to happen. I'm not going to have control over this. Okay, so this is a delicate balance of how do I still live stream while everything is still messed up. All right, anyway, this is supposed to launch here in, well, let's see if the countdown clock's working. Okay, good. Good. All right, so, this is supposed to launch here in about 27 minutes. I say supposed to because they are tracking a few issues, which we'll talk about in a second. They are launching the NROL, so the National Reconnaissance Office 71. This is a secret spy satellite that, quite frankly, we know almost nothing about. Which is always kind of interesting. And now the next part of this is United Launch Alliance, who's a merger between Boeing and Lockheed Martin. So it's a joint venture between the two. That's United Launch Alliance. They make the Delta family of rockets, the Atlas family of rockets, and soon their upcoming Vulcan family of rockets. The National Reconnaissance Office from the United States is who is paying for this vehicle. They are the customer of this launch. This is a Delta IV Heavy, so it's three Delta IVs strapped together, and those are those big orange cores that you'll see. Basically, it looks like a space shuttle, like external tank. It looks basically like those because it's a similar installation. It's also a hydrogen-powered rocket, just like the space shuttle engines were. This is launching out of Space Launch Complex 6 out of Vandenberg Air Force Base in sunny-ish California. This is still one of my favorite launch pads. That's coming up in an upcoming canceled series. I'll talk about SLC6, the crazy history of Space Launch Complex 6. It's got a wacky past. It's really, really cool. It's one of the most gorgeous launch sites in the world. So we'll talk about that. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying those canceled series videos. I really enjoy that stuff because it's like a fun, weird, almost like alternate history of what things could have been. The payload mass on this thing is unknown. Where this satellite's going, we don't know. The number of boosters on the rocket are three, of course, and they are not recoverable. United Launch Alliance currently has no rockets with any recoverability built in. Although their upcoming rocket, the Vulcan rocket, they're hopefully working on like a smart reuse system, which will jettison the engines, use an inflatable heat shield, and then swoop it up with a helicopter, which I think is a fun idea. So. Hopefully they get on that soon because I feel like recoverability and reusability is a big thing these days. So, of course, the booster is not landing. They are not attempting to recover the fairing. And then the second stage obviously is not recoverable either. But this is the 11th flight of a Delta IV Heavy, the 38th flight of a Delta IV family, the first mission for ULA this year, 132nd mission overall for the United Launch Alliance since they formed in 2006. So yeah, there's kind of your rundown. Sorry that I didn't give you the visualization of it. Let me try and fix that if I can. Well, hopefully this works okay. I'm sorry. I hope it came back. I think I fixed everything. Fingers crossed. Now the big question is whether or not this thing's going to actually launch today. It sounds like we may have had a scrub. Although it looks like they're currently showing us this, which we will see. So maybe they're gonna. The weather is pretty bad. It's like 40% go for today's launch. Hopefully you guys are back in here. Let me know if it's working for you guys. Sorry for that, all the technical difficulties. But meanwhile, reminder: whenever you guys need to know what's going on in a rocket launch, just go on over to everydayastronaut.com/pre-launch previews. And I'll have you covered here. So normally, you can see all upcoming launches. The one thing that's not programmed into this API, we don't have the Blue Origin mission, the New Shepard launch that's coming up on Monday. I will be covering that. but I don't have that up in here yet. So yeah, if you would like to tune into that, hopefully we can find a way to make it so this does mention the new the pre-launch preview for New Shepard, but it's currently not in our system. So yeah, hopefully that tells. Let's see what's going on. I'm gonna have this kind of pulled up here. Hopefully we have a launch today, folks. I'm really hoping for that. So yeah. How is everybody? I better answer this. Chris, I hope we finally see it take off. Do you think we'll see This Week in Spaceflight history again soon? P.S. Hi, love yourself. Well, thank you, Chris. I do hope to do a return of This Week in Spaceflight history. For those that don't know, that was I would do this thing with my friend named Uncle Dad / Jacob EQ. His name changed season 2 for some reason, but really he's Uncle Dad still in my heart. And he knows nothing about space at all. Like he one time asked me what's bigger, the Earth and the Moon, and he was dead serious. He's that kind of person that he doesn't even know, which makes it a lot of fun because he actually has a lot of fun, inquisitive questions. He's very entertaining. So he'll sit here and I'll redo a historic event in Kerbal Space Program. He will tune in. It's a lot of fun. We do have this going up. Are you guys hearing this? Because I'm... Okay. It is going up. Yeah, so hopefully we will be getting back to doing that relatively soon here. All right.
Delta IV Heavy rocket is fueled and ready to launch the NROL 71 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. Good morning and welcome to ULA's live launch broadcast. I'm Tyler Strickland, a trajectory engineer from ULA's mission design team. Currently, the launch team is not working any issues and we are on track for a liftoff time at 11:05 a.m. Pacific. Today's coverage will conclude following confirmation of payload fairing jettison, which occurs about 6 minutes after liftoff. A few moments from now, the count will enter a planned 15-minute hold. This hold gives our team some additional time to resolve any issues that may come up prior to entering the terminal count.
Switch to not ready position.
Lieutenant Daniel Smith, the 30th Space Wing's weather officer, recently briefed the launch team on current weather conditions at Vandenberg Air Force Base. The probability of violating launch constraints is 60%. The ground winds are 8 knots out of the north-northeast, and the temperature is 64 degrees Fahrenheit. So the weather is within the launch commit criteria for our plan T0 of 11:05 a.m. Pacific. As I mentioned earlier, today's coverage will conclude following payload fairing jettison. While the launch team continues with their final preps, let's take a look at a preview of some of the events we'll see.
We have ignition of the RS-68 engines. 2, 1, 0. We have liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket for the National Reconnaissance Office.
So we have seen this a few times now for those of us that have been watching, and I feel like we've got a lot of questions. I actually did see a really quick question go by that I wanted to answer, and it was talking about how I had a bag of chips in a vacuum chamber in a video about why the Tesla Roadster was able to survive space. And the bag of chips, blew up in a vacuum. They said, why doesn't the ISS or other spacecraft blow up in a vacuum? Luckily for us and the people inside those spacecraft, they aren't made out of bags of potato chips. That's why spacecraft are expensive. They're pressure vessels. They're basically like a reverse submarine. A submarine has to be able to handle immense pressure pushing in on it from the outside. Spacecraft are the opposite. It needs to have a lot of resistance and be built well enough to have pressure pushing from the inside out. And that's really why. That's why we don't make them out of potato chips. However, there is Bigelow Aerospace Company that uses expandable modules. They aren't necessarily inflatable, but they are a flexible fabric and material. So you can take a small package and expand it out and have a larger habitation module, which I think is really cool. I can't wait to see them do more stuff. Yeah, so hopefully that helps explain that whole thing. So AMG Wagon, can you explain the relationship between ULA and the government? Are they owned partially by the government like Amtrak? Haven't found any clear answers. Well, it is a little confusing because the government kind of made Boeing and Lockheed Martin come together. Oh, I'll get back to that in a second though. But I don't believe the government has any ownership
ULA is using a Delta IV Heavy rocket to launch the NROL 71 mission. This is the 38th Delta IV launch since the inaugural flight in 2002 and the 11th flight of the Heavy configuration. Produced in Decatur, Alabama, the Delta IV Heavy, the nation's proven heavy lift launcher, is comprised of 3 common booster cores, each powered by Aerojet Rocketdyne RS-68A engines, and a Delta cryogenic second stage powered by an Aerojet Rocketdyne RL-10B2 engine. The NROL 71 payload is protected during ascent by a 5-meter diameter payload fairing. Let's have a look at a few of the events that took place in preparation for launch. On October 26th, the spacecraft, encapsulated inside the payload fairing, was transported to the Mobile Service Tower, or MST, at Space Launch Complex 6 and mated to the Delta IV Heavy rocket. The Mobile Assembly Shelter, or MAS, was moved to its launch position. The MAS protects the Delta IV rocket from the wind and fog so common to its location here on California's Pacific coast. Final launch preparations at Space Launch Complex 6 begin with rollback of the Mobile Service Tower, or MST. Using 40 hydraulic cylinders at pressures nearing 3,500 psi, the MST was raised 8 inches and rolled back, revealing the Delta IV Heavy. At 100 feet by 100 feet by 300 feet, the MST is as tall as a football field is long, as wide as the length of a basketball court, and weighs in at about 10 million pounds. Using a carriage transporter system traveling at about a quarter mile per hour, it takes about 25 minutes to roll the MST to its launch position 300 feet east of the rocket. The Delta IV Heavy stands 232 feet tall, or about 23 stories, and weighs about 1.6 million pounds fully fueled. The 3 Delta IV RS-68A main engines produce more than 2 million pounds of thrust. Approximately 6 minutes later, at stage separation, it weighs just 7% of what it did at liftoff.
I love that launch pad. So cool.
The NRO is a joint organization engaged in the research and development, acquisition, launch, and operation of innovative overhead reconnaissance systems necessary to meet the needs of the intelligence community and the Department of Defense. The NRO is recognized for its innovative intelligence collection systems that are used to develop highly accurate military targeting data, support international peacekeeping and humanitarian relief operations, and to assess the impact of natural disasters. The art for today's mission depicts an eagle as the symbol of both freedom and the nation, providing a fitting mascot to represent NRO's support to our nation's warfighter. The initials JLC on the foreground dog tag are in honor of Colonel Joshua L. Chamberlain, a Union commander who was awarded the Medal of Honor for his heroism at the Battle of Gettysburg on July 2, 1863, when he held the Union Army's southern flank at Little Round Top against a repeated assault from Confederate forces. Colonel Chamberlain's heroism, leadership, and commitment to service before self exemplifies the ethos of the American warfighter who the NRO is committed to serving each and every day. The art also includes the NRO mission number NROL 71, along with the Delta IV Heavy in Vandenberg Air Force Base to indicate both the launch vehicle and location. The motto, "Serving Those Who Serve," rounds out the logo and represents the NRO's commitment to delivering the mission on time to the warfighter and intelligence community.
There we go. I'm seeing a lot of repeat questions. Reminder, ULA is not NASA. Hold on.
This is a planned hold to give the launch team time to resolve any final outstanding issues. If you're a regular viewer of ULA's webcasts, which we hope you are, or if you've been following the mission, you know we've had some technical issues. Last week, I had the opportunity to discuss those with Jim Zimmerly, ULA's chief engineer.
Sweet, we might get some answers here.
So thanks, Jim, for taking some time out of your really busy schedule to talk with me today. I just wanted you to maybe talk to us a little bit about the scrub in December that was due to a hydrogen leak. How did we actually identify where that leak was? Like, what tests did we do to find that out?
Yeah, so as part of our standard process anytime we launch the vehicle, we have a HADS gas system that monitors all the conditions in the vehicle to monitor for any excess hydrogen, any excess oxygen, or any other propellants. During our launch attempt, we saw elevated readings. We did some troubleshooting on the day of launch and could not identify where the hydrogen leak was coming from. So we had to scrub that day and go initiate an investigation to figure out where the hydrogen leak was coming from.
What kind of steps have we taken to identify where that is and remedy the problem?
Yeah, unfortunately, when you work with hydrogen, the leak only showed up when we're at liquid hydrogen temperatures, only at minus 423. And there's no evidence once you're done, once you've detanked and got back into the vehicle, to tell you where the leak comes from. So what we had to do is initiate a tanking test. We create a special configuration with the engine section to have HAZGAS monitors at all the locations that were suspect for the leak, repeated the hydrogen tanking test, and then identified the source of the leak. We identified a valve on the engine that was leaking, so we went in and removed and replaced that valve. And then we repeated the tanking test just to make sure we had found the location of the leak and put ourselves back into a configuration that was acceptable for launch. We successfully completed that test, and now we are ready to get back into launch.
On an earlier attempt, we actually had a pretty visual scrub where we had a launch abort during the T-minus 10 seconds and counting. Could you kind of explain to me and the viewers what happened there?
For the last 10 seconds of our launch attempts, what we have, the terminal count sequencer rack takes control of the vehicle, makes sure everything is ready to launch, starts the engines, and allows the vehicle to take off. The data that we saw, that we can see, shows that the valves did properly switch from the ground to the flight configuration. Unfortunately, the electrical signal back from the vehicle that confirms that that position switch occurred properly, we didn't get that feedback from the vehicle that it switched properly. So the system automatically aborted before we started the engines because we hadn't got verification that we had the proper configuration of the vehicle.
Right, so essentially, you know, everything did work as intended, even though there was some smoke and flame.
Yeah, the system is definitely watching to make sure we're in the right configuration. It monitors it and will shut the vehicle down to make sure we don't launch in an improper configuration, and that's exactly what it did.
So obviously a lot of time and effort and energy has gone into fixing this, so really looking forward to launch, and thank you again for taking some time to talk with me today.
Right, thanks.
Sweet. Well, there's our answer.
Brief of the three issues that have been discussed and
Want to hear this?
briefed on Net 6.
Today's mission is ULA's first in the new year. 2018 also began with a mission for the NRO and included the first Mars mission from the West Coast and the bittersweet last flight of the venerable Delta II. Let's take a look back.
All right, so I'm going to talk here now because we've had a lot of good things to talk about. So first off, we now know what was wrong. It wasn't, so the vehicle needs to configure itself for flight and open up a bunch of valves and get totally ready to go. There's another system then that tells the ground and all the people that the rocket is configured for flight and ready to go. Unfortunately, the system that tells them that it's ready to go was incorrect, actually, and it was having false negatives, basically. It was reading that the vehicle's not ready to go. After a bunch of configuration and figuring it out and troubleshooting, they realized that it was actually the system that reads the system that was having an error. So that's good. It's always better to have a fault tolerance. Like, it's better to not launch in a condition that you might not successfully launch. Like I always say, booms or scrubs are cheaper than booms. Like, it's so much easier for them and smarter to scrub if you see anything off nominal than it is to just, we'll be fine. You don't want, especially with a potentially $1 billion satellite,
To monitor conditions. So that concludes my outbrief on that one, LC.
LC concurs. LD?
LD concurs, and we'll take the short version on next two, please.
Roger.
MD.
MD concurs.
All right. Second item was the swing arm ready indication on the PLC and CGLS team went back and determined that they had a command timing issue with the PLC.
We remain in the planned 15-minute built-in hold. In a few moments, launch conductor Dylan Rice will poll the team for the final go to pick up the countdown. 31 engineers and managers will be polled for system status and readiness to proceed with the launch. This is the final status check before launch for all Delta vehicle systems, ground systems, the spacecraft, and the US Air Force Western Range. The readiness poll includes hydraulics, pad water deluge system, electrical systems, pneumatics, propulsion systems, flight control, and propellants.
Lots of people.
We were seeing approximately 22%. That is the op limit for that item. We also have a red line limit at 23%. So oftentimes when we have wind indications, high winds, we see high indications on these alarm parameters. We continue to monitor in the starboard location via the RLM, but recommendation is to disable 6 line items associated with the port and core location. And I can provide those to LC after we get concurrence here. But team concurred or recommended to proceed into launch with those 6 alarms disabled and just monitor on the starboard location. That concludes that out brief as well, LC.
LC concurs. LD?
Concurs.
MD?
MD concurs.
And LC line items are 0988, 0989, 0990, 1000, 1001, and 1002. Those are the 6 line items to disable an RLM.
Roger. And RLM LC?
Go ahead.
You're prepared to implement the anomaly team's recommendation at this time?
Affirmative.
Proceed.
And LC, we also want to make sure we disable line item 587 for the PDOT measurement as we're manually monitoring that.
Roger.
You can see where it's already done its ignition there on that booster. And then scrubbed after engine ignition. So
minus 5 minutes.
So basically, what's going on here is they have a bunch of things like ground winds, a few other potential...
LC, this is RLM.
Go RLM.
All the limits discussed in the anomaly discussion have been disabled.
Roger. LD, LC net 1.
LD on 1.
Yes, sir. Given the late breaking anomaly discussions, I need additional time to complete the final steps of the countdown procedure before we're ready to proceed into terminal count. Recommend we extend the built-in hold.
Concur.
So they're pushing back to their terminal. The terminal count is a 4-minute terminal count.
And so for the team on net 1, we will not be proceeding with the window open launching it.
But they're not scrubbing yet. They're just giving additional time. They have this ability to take and reevaluate. Once they hit the 4-minute mark, then it's an automated sequence. But for now, they're in a built-in hold so they can evaluate systems. They're now recommending, hey, we're going to push this back a little bit later.
OSM, LC net 1.
Go LC.
Verify the hold fire switch is in the proceed position.
Ready to proceed.
Redline monitor, LC.
Go ahead.
Verify redline monitor and event table are in the correct configuration for terminal count.
We're active to give me 1 minute.
Roger. RC, LC 1.
A minute is all?
Sir, CN1.
Verify solar radiation limits acceptable for launch.
That's verified.
Flight control, LC.
Flight control.
Perform launch on time verification.
Roger.
LC, this is RLM.
Go.
Redline monitor and the event table are in the correct configuration for terminal count.
Roger.
And LC flight control, launch on time is verified.
Roger.
So sorry, I'm just trying to really hone in here and figure out what's going on so we can get an estimate here. They aren't calling it yet, which is good. I mean, as in scrubbing. They're not scrubbing yet. They're still going for it. They turned off a bunch of alarms.
LC, LD on 1.
Go LD.
Please coordinate a new T0 of 19:10 Zulu.
Roger. 1910 Zulu.
So 19.
RC LC 1.
This is the RCN1.
Please coordinate a new T0 of 1910 Zulu with a range.
Roger, new T0 19:10:00.
Wait, is that
ALC, please set the countdown clock for a new T0 of 1910 Zulu.
Roger.
1910. So 19. Oh God, let me think about this. So 19 UTC. What time is that in my time? Minus 5 hours, I think, for me. So that would be just 110. I think they just pushed it back like 5 minutes. Oh, I can do that. Oh, that's funny. I think I can handle a 5-minute pushback. 7-minute pushback. So basically, first off, notice one of the shots when you see the top of the side boosters and you see the upper stage, you can actually see the rocket rocking back and forth.
Countdown has been set for new T0 of 1910 Zulu.
Roger.
All right.
The team is now working to an 11:10 a.m. Pacific launch time after resolving some issues and extending the hold.
Terminal count. First stage systems. Propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Second stage systems. Locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Electrical systems. Airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
COM.
Go.
GC cubed.
Go.
Operation support.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
HASGAS.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Redline monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Ops safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
AC is go.
Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Cool.
Launch director.
Launch vehicles ready to launch.
Mission director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC, verify T0 set for 1910 Zulu.
Verified.
MEQ, establish swing arm lock pins full.
Active.
Polling is complete and the launch team has given the go for launch. The countdown will resume approximately 2 minutes from now. At T-minus 4 minutes and counting, we will enter the terminal count and begin securing the second stage liquid oxygen tank. At T-minus 3 minutes and 32 seconds, CBC liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen tank securing is started, including closing the propellant fill and drain valves. Also at T-minus 3 minutes and 32 seconds, vehicle transfer from ground facility power to its own internal battery power will be complete. At T-minus 3 minutes, the vehicle ordnance system will be armed, and CBC liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen propellant tanks are verified to be at flight pressure and flight level. At 2 minutes prior to liftoff, the team will verify that the hydraulic system is pressurized and confirm CBC, DCSS, and FTS battery voltages. At T-minus 1 minute and 20 seconds, the team will begin securing the second stage liquid hydrogen tank. At T-minus 60 seconds, Western range readiness is verified. At T-minus 50 seconds, the DCSS liquid hydrogen tank is secured at flight level. At T-minus 15 seconds, the ROFIs are ignited at the base of the vehicle to burn off excess hydrogen. At T-minus...
And counting.
Good. I can turn off my clock now.
3 minutes, 55 seconds.
Ground pyros enabled.
Sweet.
Second stage lock secure at flight level.
The countdown clock has resumed and we are go for launch at 11:10 a.m. Pacific.
Yes. Finally. We haven't hardly made it into this countdown this far on this vehicle. I think once we got down to like T-minus 7 seconds and there was a hold on engine ignition because of they were reading that the system wasn't closed out and ready to go for launch. But we are finally here. I have a lot of your guys' questions to answer, which I will get to when there's a good time. But for now, we're tuned into this launch. So, friendly reminder, guys, this thing is actually almost the same height as like a Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. It's a lot wider, though. It is 5 meters wide as opposed to 3.7 meters wide.
3 minutes, 7 seconds.
But funny, it's actually lighter than the Falcon Heavy, the entire vehicle. Most of that is because hydrogen is lighter than RP-1. It also has fewer engines. It's a really lightweight rocket, even though it looks huge and
2 minutes,
bloated.
49 seconds.
It has the RS-68, 3 RS-68 main engines.
FTS internal.
Flight termination system internal. So basically, it's using almost the same like space shuttle main engines. Only
CBC locks at flight pressure and flight level.
Awesome. Only they're optimized more for performance and not at all reusable. So they actually have like an ablative coating, which is why the vehicle will show like an orange exhaust plume as opposed to the space shuttle main engines, which had no visible exhaust almost at all. You'll see a visible exhaust plume, and that's because it's an ablative coating in these engines. So and also it's cheaper to have those engines too. So this vehicle,
2 minutes.
The real kicker.
Hydraulic pressure 4,000.
1 minute, 55 seconds.
Launch sequencer start.
CBC LH2 at flight pressure and flight level.
1 minute 40 seconds.
FCS launch enabled.
1 minute 37.
Watch, you can see look at the rocket.
T-minus 90 seconds. The launch vehicle, payload, ground systems in Western Range are go for launch.
Yes, someone said, is
1
that
minute
4,000 PSI? Yes.
Both fuse armed.
FCS count started.
COPVs, the pressure vessels that hold helium that fill in back pressure inside the tanks, that as they drain the tanks, they use an inert gas, helium, or sometimes nitrogen, but in this case helium, to refill the tank. So there's always pressure on the fuel or oxidizer.
T-minus 1 minute.
And those pressure vessels
Rock,
under...
report range status. Rock, range is green.
Yes. Finally.
50 seconds.
Woo! This is a private company. ULA is a joint company between Boeing and Lockheed Martin.
Second stage, LH2 secure at flight level.
However, it's almost entirely government contracts that they win because they're kind of they're the reliable, ready launch service.
30 seconds.
They've had
Status
great
check.
success.
Go Delta. Go NROL 71.
I don't know why I'm so I'm extra ready for this one.
Roll for ignition.
T-minus 10, 9, 8. We should have ignition. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and
yes!
liftoff of the
Finally.
United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket with NROL 71 for the National Reconnaissance Office.
Oh, yes, it's supposed to light itself on fire. I should have told you that. It always cooks itself on the pad like that, too.
You are hearing the voice of Patrick Moore providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Now 20 seconds into flight, seeing good chamber pressure across all three R68A engines.
Yes. Yes.
Now 30 seconds into flight.
Go ULA.
And core boosters beginning to throttle down to the partial thrust mode as expected.
There is no crossfeed on this vehicle, so they just
Core
lower the
boosters
throttle
reach partial thrust.
in the center core.
Now 46 seconds into flight. Chamber pressures continue to look good across all three R68 engines. Core booster in partial thrust mode. Port and starboard boosters in the full thrust mode.
Ooh, baby.
Now coming up on 1 minute into flight.
Wow.
Now
There it
passing
goes.
1 minute, 10 seconds. All three RS-68A engines continue to look good. Vehicle's now passing max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
You can see the center engine is...
And vehicle is now past Mach 1. Delta 4 is now supersonic.
down.
Now 1 minute, 30 seconds into flight. Chamber pressures on all three RS-68A engines continue to look good. Core booster in the partial thrust mode. Port and starboard boosters in the full thrust mode.
Look at that condensation trail.
1 minute, 40 seconds in.
Come on, baby.
Launch vehicle is now 12 miles in altitude.
It's like 18 kilometers.
Traveling at almost 1,600 miles per hour.
It's like...
Chamber pressures on all
20.
three engines continue to look good. Coming up on 2 minutes into flight. Second stage attitude control system press valve has been opened. System now pressurizing to flight levels. Response looks good.
Yes. Isn't that cool? You can see where the atmosphere has
2
the
minutes,
right
10
conditions
seconds in.
to make condensation like that.
Chamber pressures on all three engines continue to look good.
Huh. Look at that thing flapping on the cross brace on the left.
Vehicle's now gone to closed loop guidance. Vehicle body rates look good. Now 2 minutes, 30 seconds in. Just over 3 minutes now remaining in the boost phase of flight.
So pretty. So we're looking down on from
Engine
the core
operating
stage.
parameters continue to look good. Now passing 2 minutes, 42 seconds in. The Delta IV rocket now weighs just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of almost 5,000 pounds per second.
So that camera view is basically, imagine you're kind of on
2 minutes, 55 seconds in. Vehicle body rates continue to look good.
on the booster, the orange part right here.
Now at
looking
3
down at
minutes,
this
vehicle is now
side.
passing Mach 5.
It's now hypersonic.
About 20 seconds remaining, and I'm sorry, 30, correction. Vehicle body rates continue to look good. Chamber pressures on the RS-68A engines continue to look good. Now coming up on 3 minutes, 20 seconds into flight. Just over 30 seconds now remaining until strap-on booster engine cutoff. 3 minutes, 30 seconds in, just over 2 minutes remaining in the boost phase of flight. Vehicle is now passing Mach 10. Chamber pressures on the RS-68A engines continue to look good. And port and starboard booster engines now throttling down to partial thrust in preparation for cutoff as expected. And we have cutoff of the strap-on engines, standing by for separation.
Yes. That's
and we have
cool.
good indication of separation of the port and starboard strap-on boosters. Core booster is now throttled back up to the full thrust mode. Engine response looks good.
That's awesome.
4
That was a
minutes, 10
great
seconds
shot.
into flight.
And don't forget, guys, heavy vehicles like this, a 3-core
Chamber
vehicle,
pressure on the core booster in the full thrust mode looks good.
have been around for a long time. There's the Titan Heavy. There's many variants of vehicles that are 3-core vehicles, and people are saying it's like a copy of SpaceX. No, SpaceX was...
Upper stage lock system has begun boost phase chill down sequence to begin thermal conditioning of the upper stage engine.
Now
1 minute remaining in the boost phase of flight.
SpaceX was in no way the first people to do a heavy triple-core booster. They're just the first ones to make it reusable.
Core booster continues to look good in the full thrust mode.
Out over the Baja, California already. That's crazy.
Coming up on 5 minutes into flight, a little over 30 seconds now remaining until BECO. Vehicle body rates continue to look good. Chamber pressure continue to look good on the core booster. Now 5 minutes, 20 seconds, standing by for core booster throttle down shortly.
It's so crazy that center core can go for that long.
Core booster is now throttling down as expected.
Like 6 minutes.
Standing by for BECO.
Crazy.
And we have BECO booster engine cutoff, standing by for stage separation.
I love when people are like, CGI, yes.
And we have good indication of stage separation.
That is a
nozzle extension is now deploying.
It's literally what it is.
We have pre-start on the RL-10, standing by for ignition on the RL-10.
RL-10, an awesome vacuum engine.
We have ignition and full thrust on the RL-10. Chamber pressure looks good. Body rates look good.
Good.
Standing by for payload fairing jettison.
Yep.
And we have good indication of payload fairing jettison.
Yes. There oh,
Chamber
look at
pressure
that.
continue to look good on the RL-10 engine.
That's so cool. I've never seen them
First
flapping
burn of
like
today's
that.
mission will last approximately 12 minutes, 6 seconds.
This is Delta Mission Control at T plus 6 minutes and 30 seconds and counting. Patrick Moore has just confirmed the successful completion of the early phase of today's flight. All systems continue to operate nominally, and I would also like to thank Patrick Moore for his support of today's show. If you'd like to know more about ULA or the Delta IV Heavy rocket, visit ulalaunch.com or join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. If you'd like to know more about the NRO, visit www.nro.gov or follow them on Facebook and Twitter. To finish the show, let's take another look at today's liftoff, which occurred at 11:10 a.m.
right.
Pacific.
Since this is a classified
I'm Tyler
mission.
Strickland, and on behalf of the entire launch team, thank you for joining us and have a great day. And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Delta IV Heavy rocket with NROL 71 for the National Reconnaissance Office.
Such a crazy vehicle. So yes, so reminder, we have a lot of questions to answer. Stick around, guys. We've got a lot to talk about here. I've seen a lot of really, really good questions. So first off, that's all we're going to get from them. This was a classified mission, classified payload. Once that payload once the payload fairings jettisoned, that's all they're going to show us. So great job, ULA. You finally got this beautiful bird off the ground. I couldn't be more excited. That's great news. So now this is no longer a pre-launch preview, but we're going to have to change this to just the post-launch preview. So yeah, great job. Oh, I don't think we need this anymore. Countdown clock. Boop. yeah, again, great job, ULA, and congrats. Hopefully everything goes well for the rest of the launch as they continue to burn the upper stage and get that top secret spy satellite or whatever it's doing up there into its final orbit, which we don't really know much else about, unfortunately. So, yeah, and so to answer, going way back here, guys, AMG Wagon had a really good question about the relationship between ULA and the government. Basically, so the government kind of made ULA exist by making Lockheed Martin and Boeing come together over the Common Core architecture, I believe. And when they did that, it also secured a bunch of contracts for ULA. So ULA will historically has gotten the vast majority of government contracts. And honestly, they really didn't have any competition in that realm for government contract launches like this. Now SpaceX is certified to launch most payloads like this on their own vehicle. So now they have some competition in SpaceX. As previously, they were basically had a monopoly on that market and were winning all those contracts. And for rightfully so. I mean, they historically have been about the most reliable launcher in existence. They're using a lot of good heritage technology, a lot of high-end rockets that are still to this day unbeatable for performance and reliability. So that's not to be discounted when you're talking about a $1.2 billion satellite. Like that's an important thing. You know, reliability's not something to shake a shoe at or throw a stick on your foot, whatever the sayings are there. So yeah, so that's kind of the relationship there between ULA, United Launch Alliance, and the government. They also have a lot of congressional support. So yeah. They've also had pressure, though, to get rid of the RD-180, which is on their Atlas V. John McCain was a big advocate against the RD-180. So there's that, too. So that's why their upcoming Vulcan rocket will use U.S.-built BE-4 engines from Blue Origin. So Luke Warren, thank you. And Shadow Reaper Redfield, thank you. And Starman, I'm a patron already, but I don't care. Thank you, Starman. Awesome. Yop or Jop Coding, new member, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you for joining. Doing twice, thank you very much. Same with Stefan. Nirisco, can you tell us about those scammed Chinese rockets? What's the story with that? Yes, I can. Ladies and gentlemen, I got scammed. And I'm going to let you in on it if you want to know. So, you know, I have that new web store. I've been working on trying to get a bunch of cool things because people ask all the time, like, Tim, where do you get, you know, your model rockets from and all this stuff? You know, things like the space shuttle and all this stuff. Like, I want to have stuff like this in my store because I use them all the time. I would love an easy place to be, yeah, just go check them out on my store, duh. Instead of being like, well, you have to go to something.com/art to blah, 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 blah. I want to be like, yeah, everydayastronaut.com/shop. You'll find it right there. So I was like, I'm going to get some rockets for my store. I'm going to get them customized and branded, and they're going to look awesome, and everyone's going to love them, and they're going to be super cool. And then they come in the mail. You ready for this? This is what I got. The smallest, wobbliest. And the peg is in the rocket, so you can't even hold the rocket up on. It does, however, say everyday astronaut. And it has a little. It was supposed to be the same dimensions. Literally, the description had these dimensions, and I got this. Oh, that's what happens when you use Alibaba, I guess. So what I'm going to do, I think at some point, I have a box of like 100 of these or something at my house. I spent way too much money on them, customizing them and all that stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these up in my web store as like Tim got scammed, stupid, tiny, dumb rockets for your life. And what I'll do is slash signature holder. So I'll sign these just to get rid of them because I don't know what else I'm going to do with a bunch of these wobbly, cheap, probably highly toxic, terrible miniature rockets. I'm going to sign them, stick them in my web store, and enjoy, guys. Help me get rid of them before my wife kills me. Gosh. Oh, man. It was so bad. So, yeah, that's the story of the cheap Chinese knockoff rockets. Ooh, looks like I'll have to go with an American-made injection molding next time. If you own an injection molding company and want to help me redeem myself and get some much better toys and model rockets up in my shop, please reach out to me. You can find my email on my website, everydayastronaut.com. I'm going to lose my shirt on that one. All right, Luke, you're awesome. Thank you, Luke. And Pablo, thank you so much. Ian Chase, received my science hoodie this week. You love it. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you for buying a science hoodie. I really appreciate that. That's one of my favorites, too. And I really like, this has become my new favorite, I think. Falcon family shirt. So I'm glad you like that. The astronaut, hey, Tim, I just finished 2 paintings inspired by Everyday Astronaut, and I'd seriously love for you to have them. Do I have a P.O. box? Yeah, I do. Can you shoot me an email? You'll find it on my website, and I'll send you the address. Thank you, The Astronaut. That's freaking awesome. I love when science inspires art, and art inspires science. That is awesome. I can't wait to see him. Henry Stitt, hey, Tim, Star Trek or Star Wars? I grew up Star Wars all the way. My uncle, however, he loved Star Trek, so I'd kind of fall asleep watching like the original Star Trek stuff when I was little. So I think of it as boring, but I think I'd like it a lot more now as an adult. But Star Wars, I loved. I loved Star Wars. I still do. Yeah. But overall, though, unfortunately, like actual rocket science now and spaceflight has made science fiction a lot less fun and exciting to me. So honestly, I don't even care anymore. Like, people be like, have you seen something? I'm like, it's just not as cool as what we're actually doing now. So I just think it's awesome. Nathan, I know exactly what you're talking about. Ralphie Parker. Tyler has a similar glasses and blonde hair as Ralphie Parker. Tyler is awesome, though. So is Ralphie. So I think that's a compliment. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a compliment. Corona Kivo, just watch your Saturn V moon landing. Props. Thank you. Be sure and check that out. I don't do a lot of Kerbal stuff because I actually lose subscribers when I do Kerbal on my program. I don't get why you don't just... I've never unsubscribed to somebody because they did something I don't like. I just don't watch that video. Like, I don't get who's like, I like this guy enough to follow him. Wait, he's doing something that says Kerbal and it's clearly a picture of him playing Kerbal. Gotta unsubscribe now. I don't like Kerbal. Like, just don't watch it. I don't know. That's just me, though. Be sure and check that out, though. I had a ton of fun. I actually want to do more Kerbal. Screw all the people that don't like when I play Kerbal. I have fun doing it. It's my channel. Probably going to just keep doing it. So, Isaac wanted to donate more. Well, thank you. But this is all I've got in your checking account. Hey, don't drain your checking account. Dang. Well, I appreciate you with the generous tip, Isaac. That's really nice. That's very generous. You really genuinely don't have to do this. I just love doing this stuff. So thank you, though, for your support. And DJ Bob 365, thank you. Same with Eddie. And doing again, dang. And Liquid Chris, nice. You get hit by the snow last night, too. I sure did. Holy cow, we got like 4 inches, which, oh no. Now how would we do this in metric? I don't know. This much inches. Sure. Here we go. We got this much snow. I knew this would come in handy. Thank you, China. Let's see. Not Heisenbear. ULA finally updated their stream from 1995 quality to the 21st century. It does look a lot better. They're really getting on their communications game because I think they have to. That's a big recruiting tool, is having a tight brand, a nice webcast. Perfect examples. Look at how amazing Rocket Lab's webcast is. Rocket Lab's webcast, in some ways, absolutely, in my opinion, is better than SpaceX's webcast. And that's the biggest compliment to me. SpaceX definitely stepped the game up as far as what they're bringing the average person about their company. Like, these rocket companies don't need to broadcast any of this stuff. So the fact that they're doing it at all is awesome. SpaceX definitely set raised the goalpost up here. Rocket Lab is up there too now. And I'm glad to see ULA starting to get in that game too, because I do think it's important. I think it's an important recruiting tool. It's an important thing for people to be able to watch and tune in and get excited about. And maybe maybe if they're not going to be involved in the aerospace industry themselves, who knows? Their kids watching, their friends watching, whatever, might be encouraged to go and check out and try to, join their team or something. So, Nick Walker, I live in LA, just tried to photograph the launch, but by the time I was situated in the right direction, all I could see was the plume of exhaust. Dang, well, at least you saw that. I didn't see anything in Iowa because it's very much so on way beyond the horizon. So hopefully better luck next time. Night launches are obviously way easier for a photographer if you're in LA. There will hopefully be some more night launches coming out of Vandenberg soon, I assume. I feel like, although Iridium's done launching, I think there's still quite a handful of launches coming to Vandenberg. So good luck. I can't wait to see what you got. Shia Troxel, did I miss the launch? I don't know, 125. I think you missed the launch, unfortunately. It was very short. The broadcast of the launch was only about 6 minutes. It was the first two stages, or the boosters, and the center core, stage separation, ignition of the upper stage, then payload fairing deploy, and then the broadcast was done. So it's pretty short. So Jeffrey Tripp, have I watched Stargate? It's different, I promise. I have not watched Stargate. If it's different and you promise, maybe I'll check it out. Science fiction stuff just doesn't really, if it's like hard science fiction, like First Man and Mars series on Nat Geo, that stuff I love because it's believable. It's very near future. It's based on actual stuff we're doing now and have been doing. So maybe I will. Maybe I'll check it out. MC Shrimp, thanks again, Tim. Watch the launch with your wife. Can you explain the burn off before launch? I thought there might have been a problem on the pad. Of course. Well, thank you, MC Shrimp, for joining, and hello to your wife. So since this vehicle is hydrogen is actually extremely buoyant and obviously highly flammable, and it's really hard to contain. So when they actually start to open up the valves and get the engines running, hydrogen is just kind of flowing all over the place, potentially unburnt. So they intentionally light a bunch of like sparklers, like ginormous sparklers all around the base of the vehicle. And what that does is that will intentionally light all excess hydrogen that's around, because if all of a sudden you have a big giant gas of hydrogen, a belch, especially right when the engine's light, and there's a giant like ball of hydrogen sitting around the launch pad, that's bad. So what they do is they purposefully burn it off as it's kind of leaking out and as it's sort of getting ready during engine ignition, and that makes sure there's not a big excess of hydrogen lying around. I know it looks crazy, and it actually, believe it or not, has gotten better. They used to, like the first couple Delta IV heavy flights, and Delta IV also does it, it lit itself on fire even more. This is like the mini barbecue mode now. And I think it's really cool. I think it's just awesome that it like lights itself on fire before it lights itself on fire. And I just think that's super fun to watch. So yeah, that's what's going on there. There's some good videos about it. I should probably I think Scott Manley might have one. If he doesn't, I'll do one. I feel like Scott Manley is so prolific with videos that I'm turning into South Park. When South Park had they ran into, like, The Simpsons did it because they were trying to come up with episode ideas, but The Simpsons had like 20 seasons, and so every idea they had, everyone's like, The Simpsons did it, and I'm sure they just got sick of hearing Simpsons did it, and I feel like that's my version, is Scott Manley did it. Like, he has a video about everything. But luckily, in the world of science and education, there's never just one science book, there's never just one news show, there's never just one publication explaining, aerospace or trains or cars or whatever. There's always multiple, and that gives you different perspectives on the same topic. Or maybe, we all start from, any science educator is going to start at ground one. You're going to start with your own research. You're going to start with your own deep dive on these things. So just a friendly reminder, if someone else has done a video about something, it's not, I'm not saying it's like rude to say someone else did it and point it out, but it kind of takes away from the work, because it's not like someone like me would just sit there and watch another video and then be like, all right, well, time to make my own version of this. Like, it still takes from page one, like all the way through, 12 pages of scripting to actually like get some of these videos out. So it's still a ton of work. Just a friendly reminder to be supportive of those that are doing science communication, that are doing outreach, that there's a lot of work that goes involved in that. And yes, there are going to be many overlapping topics, many overlapping videos. And just to keep that in mind when you're on Twitter, online, just to be, and to me, like, more content is awesome for everybody. Everyone wins when there's more content. I try to get content out as often as I can, without burning myself out, because I kind of made that mistake at like the end of the year. I just pushed way too hard, and now I'm just trying to get in a normal routine. So yeah, hopefully that helps explain that. Let's see. Mateus, thank you. And MJ, I just landed on Min-Miss with Jeb and Bob while watching the launch. That is awesome. I love watching a launch and playing Kerbal. That's like one of my favorite things to do. I don't think that would work. I would not be able to physically talk and handle 2 live streams. So I'll never be doing that with you guys, unfortunately. But sometimes, like when I'm rewatching launches and stuff, it's me playing Kerbal on my couch. That's just one of my favorite things to do. Starman recreated this mission in Kerbal as it went on. Ended up with a big boom though, but I eventually got it working. Can you do Kerbal on stream soon? Yeah, Starman, I'll do that. I might keep it so that me playing Kerbal, just because people, like I said, get upset when I play Kerbal for some reason. I might keep that just to our Discord channel. But I don't know. I like doing it. So occasionally maybe I'll do like a Kerbal live stream publicly, but I think it makes sense to do it privately so that it doesn't bug people with a bunch of Kerbal notifications. If they're not here to subscribe to me playing Kerbal, I don't want to bug them with a bunch of Kerbal. I understand that. That's fine. That's fine. I don't want to, clutter their feeds. So by doing a public live stream of Kerbal, that person might get 2 or 3 notifications. One that I, put the live stream up, one that I started the live stream, and then when I publish the video afterwards, and if I like cut it up into another thing, they're going to get 4 notifications for one Kerbal live stream. I get it. I don't want to wear that out and abuse that power with people if they're not into that. So that's why I think I'm keeping Kerbal private these days, and I'll just publish really fun, good stuff that's separate. That's I feel like hopefully high quality, high caliber. So yeah. So you are in Discord, so I think you'll hopefully see when I do that in the future. MJ, watch the Falcon 9 launch in school or this week. That's what school are you going to that they watch Falcon 9 launches? Because I want to go to that school. That sounds awesome. Thank you, MJ. Drew Lynch, thank you for reigniting my interest in space. Your videos have taught me a ton and taken my interest higher than it's ever been. Much love. Well, Drew, I'm right there with you, man. Like, I honestly was in the same, like 5 years ago, I couldn't tell you the difference between, I couldn't have told you almost anything about this vehicle right here. I could have said that if you pointed to it and said, Tim, what is that? I would have gone, space shuttle. That was about the end of my knowledge. I didn't know that there were solid rocket boosters. I didn't know that there are RS-25 main engines that ran hydrolocks. I didn't know almost anything about anything 5 years ago, or about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, 6 years ago. My interest has just gone up like this. I'm just still excited. I love tuning in and watching all the stuff, learning with you guys, learning with as new information comes out and new programs get developed, new discoveries get made, new probes land on other planets. I mean, it's a really exciting time. We're getting ready to send humans. We're tripling the number, no, doubling the number of human-rated launch vehicles. Actually, more than that, but at least to go up into like orbit. We currently have China and Russia are the only 2 vehicles currently flying people to space. Although it's been a couple years. It's been a year since China's flown people into orbit, into their own space station. But right now, Russia, the Soyuz rocket, Soyuz capsule is the only way to actually get to the International Space Station. This is the first time, hopefully this year, oh, I knocked my mic. Hopefully this year is the first time we're actually going to finally be seeing new launch providers and new services with NASA, who hired Boeing and SpaceX Boeing/ULA, because it's the Boeing Starliner capsule on top of the Atlas V rocket in the N22 configuration, which is cool and never flown before, and SpaceX with their Dragon capsule on top of a Falcon 9. We're doubling the amount of orbital class rides to space. Hopefully this year, which is awesome. That's really fun and exciting. Not only that, Blue Origin will hopefully start flying customers, or at least people suborbital, as well as Virgin Galactic is kind of already doing that. So yes, we are. It's an exciting time. We're finally picking up pace. We're seeing innovation happening. We're seeing a revival of people that didn't care and now do care, now find enthusiasm in it. And I think a big part of that is the outreach of good launch coverage from these providers. Good communication between these providers and, journalists and all that stuff. Because think about it. I mean, how many people gather around to watch like a football, basketball game, other football game, depending on which football you thought I said in the first place, you know, because there's like 2 footballs, one that doesn't use your feet at all besides to run, and one guy uses it once to like kick it or something. So think about how many people watch that or watch stuff like that. I mean, it is a massive spectator sport, and yet rockets, there hasn't been a lot of that for us. You know, for people that aren't as interested or not at all interested in sports, I feel like this is our way to be able to like be spectators in this and actually be excited and learn along the way. That's the cool part, is you get to learn. Like when you watch football, you don't really get to learn anything other than maybe some stats of some players and maybe some backstories of individuals or something. But like, you're not sitting there being like, oh, I had no idea that hydrolocks actually provided a higher specific impulse than say RP1. You know, like there's nothing really to take home with you, and I think that's what's so cool about rocket science is even when you watch a launch, there's still little crumbs. I'm still sitting here just eating up the crumbs from these providers every time I watch one of these launches. I'm just sitting here trying to get it inside of my brain and then tell you guys about it too. I happen to have a decent retention for hearing something once and kind of remembering it and sticking it up in here. And I like to remember what things were mind-boggling to me and got me excited, or were things that got me like, oh, that's cool. You know, like, because we've all been down rabbit holes for anything. And I think it's exciting for me to kind of try to remember and think back on what rabbit holes I went down on and try to regurgitate that and bring that to other people to expand that audience. I just think that's part of the exciting thing about science communication and rockets and all that stuff. So, yeah. So thank you, Drew. Sorry, that was like a 10-minute long rant. Zachary Fluke, can't stick around, Tim. Got a wedding to go to, but just wanted to check in and say hello to you and all my fellow space people. Well, thank you, Zachary. Have fun at the wedding. I went to way too many weddings in my life. I shot 130 some weddings when I was a professional wedding photographer. So I've been there, done that. Got tired of traveling. I traveled all over the place. Shot 2 weddings in Ethiopia, weddings in like all over the place. Germany. I mean, lots of travel. It was fun. It was good. It was a good career. But holy cow, that gets really exhausting. And weddings, even though they're a celebration event, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of potential stress. But hopefully when you're a guest, it's great. You just get to sit back and hang out, have a dinner, maybe have some drinks, and that's easy. But hopefully you're not having to do anything too crazy. So good luck, Zachary. Corey, I'm from Lompoc, Vandyland, but stationed out of state in the Air Force. Sad it didn't launch when you were there for the holidays. Glad you could watch here. Well, dang it, Corey Nelson. Oh, so I get it. You're from people are from Lompoc and Vandenberg area. I had no idea. I always thought everyone there was from in the military. That's awesome. I mean, I know some people are born there, but I feel like you're very much in the minority to have. Yeah, that's crazy. Sad it didn't launch when you were there, but yeah, I'm glad you could tune in here too. So thank you, Corey. And thank you for your service as well in the Air Force. Hal 15900. Hi Tim. I like the KSP videos. Could you create a secondary YouTube channel? That might be in the making. My friend Reese, who does a lot of modeling, is apparently making a Kerbal version of me that I would load into the game. If we do that, I might have to start a new channel. And I might have to make that like a once a week type of thing. So maybe stay tuned. Promise if I do that. It's just hard for me to consider like divvying up into multiple channels. It just seems like a lot of work. So yeah, there we go. So James, wow. Thank you for your great podcast. Let's all encourage young Rocketeers like UC Boulder's Cobra Rocketry at cobrarocketry.space. That's awesome. You're welcome, James. That is extremely generous of you. cobrarocketry.space. I was just up in Colorado. And I didn't know about UC Boulder's Cobra Rocketry, but I know there are some awesome collegiate rocket programs that are becoming very competitive. I think that is super, super awesome. Thank you, James. That's very generous. MJ, I second Hal 15,9,000 a KSP channel would be dope. That's not a bad idea. Think about it more. And not Heisenberg, it's Lompoc, not Poc. I had no idea. Lompoc. That seems weird when it just ends with a C. Lompoc. See, you learn something new every day. Now we'll see if it sticks. And remember that whole rant about sticky retention stuff. We'll see if that works. And speaking of podcasts, guys, I feel like I need to tell you guys about this more often. Don't forget, I do a weekly podcast, actually, with two other YouTubers, Joe Scott and Ben Solons. Joe Scott from Answers with Joe and Ben Solons from Teslanomics. We talk about all things our ludicrous future, which is, of course, a nod to Elon Musk and to SpaceX, Tesla, and the Boring Company. So we cover a lot of futurism and things like that. So if you're one of those people that wants like constant news on SpaceX, this is where I put that, because I don't want my channel just to be SpaceX news, but this is the channel for that. We do it on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to Our Ludicrous Future, there's how you spell it in case you need help, because I can't spell it ever. I had to like Google how to spell ludicrous. Our Ludicrous, Ludicrous Future, Our Ludicrous Future. You can find our channel here on YouTube. Subscribe, listen. They're long form, so if you are driving, you're at work, you're able to listen to podcasts, watch YouTube long form content. Hopefully this is good for you. I like long form content when I go on road trips. So hopefully this is something you enjoy. Please tell your friends about it if they're into those things. And yeah, that's that. Like I said, I finally got the Nauticoasters back in stock. You guys were asking about these. The Gridfin Nauticoasters are finally back in stock. We're all caught up. So they are in the store. So if you want a chance to get these before we run out of them again, everydayastronaut.com/shop. You can get these Gridfin Nauticoasters. They are there. We also have some new shirts like these Falcon Family Tees. These are some of my favorite shirts to date. Other ones like Future Martian shirts are finally in stock now too. These ones are some of my favorites. Don't forget, if you work in the aerospace industry, I'm talking if you build rockets or spacecraft or work on the range or something for a living, click here, enter your work email. You will get 25% off all apparel in my store. That's hats, shirts, anything that is here, apparel, will show up for 25% off. Yeah, and we're running out of stock on a few things. So if there's a shirt you like, make sure you get it now, because like these Planet logo tees, these are going to be gone. These are first run. They're going to be gone here soon. So if you like this shirt, it is dual printed. There's a small logo on the front, big logo on the back. These are going to be gone really soon. We're almost out of stock on these. So if you like these hoodies, get them while you can. Yeah, and we also added, I think we added a gold version of this shirt. Maybe we didn't yet. But we have a gold version coming, so I think that's going to be cool. Gold on black will be awesome. So yeah, be sure and check out the new web store. Again, we also have new stickers, because we always package everything with the Remove Before Flight sticker, and everyone's like, I like that sticker. Why isn't it in your sticker pack? So now we have Sticker Pack 2.0, which has the Remove Before Flight. And before you know it, I will probably start including this Tim got ripped off by China.com tiny little dumb rocket that is really stupid / signature holder. Yeah. Yeah. Whoops. So anyway, Lucas Page, thank you from Germany, and Mars Mountain. Good work, Tim. Now grab a beer. It's only 1:45. I'm not grabbing a beer, am I? No, I'm not yet, but thank you. Maybe this evening when I partake in I'm going to a hockey game, speaking of sports, but it's because my friend's band is playing at the hockey game, so I'm going to watch their band. And meanwhile, watch basically a bunch of high schoolers beat themselves up on a slippery surface, I guess. We'll see. That seems so northern of me. I'm in Iowa. I guess I had to go to a hockey game or something. MJ, I'm a Texas native, so cool. SpaceX moved BFR to Texas. By the way, that news is kind of confusing right now. They're moving the initial prototype developments of Starhopper, and even probably the next orbital version will probably be built in Texas. I don't think they're moving development and actual factories out to Texas, so don't get your hopes up. From my understanding of the most recent tweets from Elon is they are still building, say the Raptor engines at Hawthorne. They're still going to be doing the development and the actual building of the primary structures at the port of Los Angeles. So at San Pedro, I think it's called, or whatever that port is called. So you'll see some action, though. If you're in Texas, you already have McGregor, where they test engines. You also see the Starhopper and the suborbital variants of it launching from Boca Chica and Brownsville. So, yeah, that's pretty exciting, I think. So, yeah, I'm excited for you guys. Hopefully I'll make it down. I don't know if they'll have things that are publicly listed ever. So I don't know if it's worth me trying to make it down to Brownsville, but I'll keep my eyes open. Corey, thanks at Not Heisenberg. It's Lompoc. It's Native American. I didn't know that. Fun fact about the Delta IV Heavy, because helped launch at Vandenberg Air Force Base. We had a fire drill in school because they were afraid of how powerful it was. Really? That's crazy. So the first Delta IV Heavy, they had a fire drill in school because they were afraid of how powerful. So they were preparing people and children to get ready for a fire drill. That's absolutely crazy because of the launch. I can't imagine growing up around there and having launches happen quite often. I feel like I didn't even know about Vandenberg before, again, 5 years ago. I went out to my first launch in 2014. So I guess it is 5 years. So, okay, 6 years ago, I didn't know what Vandenberg Air Force Base was, basically. I went out and saw a Delta II Heavy out of there. I can't imagine growing up there and having a pretty not well-known rocket launch and flight facility from there. I think that's really cool. Yeah. I think that's going to be it, guys. I'm going to head out because it's Saturday. I finally kind of have a day off. I'm working on a new fun video. Speaking of videos and comparing those, Boeing Starliner on top of a Atlas V N22 versus a Dragon 2 on top of a Falcon 9 versus Soyuz on top of a Soyuz. All the rides to the International Space Station. I'm going to do a video about that. I'm debating whether or not to throw in China, but there's not a lot of good information out there, to be honest. And they don't go to the International Space Station. But it might be fun to compare that anyway. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how much information we can get. If we can get enough information about the Chinese launch program, I would love to include them since they are an human orbital launch provider right now. So yeah. John Ellis says they still test ICBMs occasionally at Vandenberg. Did a lot more often in the past. I don't doubt it because that is kind of our first line of defense from, say, North Korea. Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah. MJ, do you know if it's possible to film the Starhopper without special permission? Getting into photography and would love to see a launch. Of course you can. If you're from a public vantage point, you can get close where they'd be like, dude, you can't come closer, or there might be especially when they're launching, they might have a perimeter where they will not allow, like an exclusion zone where they won't allow anyone to get. But if you're on public ground, as a matter of fact, I think, believe it or not, if it's easy, I don't know how hard it is to get into Mexico from Brownsville, if there's a port of entry right there. But if you can go out to the end there, that's actually the closest point to that area, would be sitting there, hang out on the beach. I will do that with you. I would love to do that. Oh my gosh, I would love to do that. Have a Corona on the beach and wait for Starhopper to start hopping around. You're only 2 miles away, 3.2 kilometers away. Yeah, I think that sounds like a lot of fun. So yes, you can, and good luck. I hope you don't get in trouble and stuff. So, I did see someone ask, hopefully I didn't miss it up here. I don't remember if it was, one, they're asking their friend, we're debating Q1 or Q2 for Falcon Heavy. I'm going to say Q2, even though we're currently scheduled for March 1st. Just knowing we're kind of getting a lot of pushback. The FAA currently is not licensing right now with the government shutdown. So every day the government shut down, we're just kind of waiting around. So I'm going to say Q2, but early Q2, April 4th or something. I wouldn't be surprised at all. That's just my guess. That's my gut feeling. Just knowing how much things slip this far out. We're about 2 months out right now. So add 50% to that. That seems to be pretty much the rule of thumb that I tend to live by. So, yeah. That's all, guys. I'm going to head on out here. Thank you so much for sticking around. I will be doing the New Shepard launch on Monday. So tune in then. I have to get the live stream up for that and ready to go. Be sure to check out my newest video and stick around for another new video. So thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you guys want to help contribute to some of the video scripting and ideas and to have some direct feedback, I'm in this channel all the time. Head on over to patreon.com/everydayastronaut where you can help support what I do. Help me get down to more and more launches. Help me make better and better content and really broaden my horizons. And I continually upgrade equipment too to make sure that my content quality is improving constantly. That's an obsession of mine. So it's only thanks to you guys. So, and thank you, Hajin W. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Bye, everybody.